What is up, YouTube? So today we are talking about the Roland SPD-SX, and I'm talking about the two problems that I get the most questions about. The two problems I'm going to cover today are, one, if you're using the Roland to run backing tracks, why does sometimes you're running backing tracks and then playing samples and it all just cuts off all the sound and kind of like kills all noise for you? I'm going to fix that problem, and then I'm also going to fix the problem of a lot of you, when you go to load samples or wave files onto the Roland, it won't play them, says it's not the right format and stuff. So I'm going to handle those two issues now. Bonus before we get started, this orange stuff you see, a lot of you have been like, how do you get that orange stuff around there? That's so cool. It's there because when you're playing a show and they black the stage out, it can be very hard to see your Roland, and this is just regular old gaff tape that is orange. So I cut it and kind of just put it on there, and sometimes it falls off, but you know, it gets the job done. So let's go with the first issue, and this first issue is going to be how to have the Roland not die on you when you are running backing tracks and using a bunch of samples. So this problem, from what I can tell, is basically you're just overloading the Roland because of certain settings. So what you're going to want to do to make sure this problem never happens to you ever again is all you have to do is change a couple of pretty easy settings. And again, this is only for if you're using the Roland for backing tracks as well at the same time running samples off of it too. You have your backing tracks and your click track rolling, and then you're wanting to trigger some snare drum sounds or some claps and snaps and whatever. Sometimes you get too many sounds coming from it, it'll die. So here's what you need to do. You need to hit the menu button, then you need to go to Kit Pad, then you need to tab over to the mode, and then down near the bottom there's a poly and mono setting. You want to make sure that your sounds are all set to mono. This basically has to do with some setting, and you can read the manual to find out all the details, but basically this will just save it and let the Roland play more sounds at one time, and it should take care of your problem where the Roland, shuts down because you're running backing tracks and playing samples at the same time. So that is fix number one, and that's one of the things I get asked the most about with people running backing tracks from the Roland. Number two is how to load backing tracks, samples, how to get the proper wave file format to put on the Roland. The Roland is super, super, super picky about the kind of file format you need to put on the Roland. The sample rate and the bit depth is what you really need to pay attention to, and we need a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz and a bit depth of 16 bits. I think I'm getting all that right. But the important thing to note is usually when you export out of Logic or Pro Tools, there's still something going weird with those file formats. So the easiest workaround that I have found is basically what I'll do is if I'm going to load a new kit onto the Roland and I have, a backing track and a click track and a bunch of samples that I want to load onto the Roland, what I'll do is I'll get them all in a file on my computer or just the desktop or whatever, and I will throw them into iTunes. Now, I have an older version of iTunes, so, your experience with iTunes might be a little bit different than mine, but basically, I'll throw all my samples into iTunes. They'll end up at the bottom of my library. I'll highlight them all in my library, and then what I'll do is I'll go to Preference. I'll make sure that in iTunes I go to Preferences, go over to General, and then pick that when I'm go to my import settings, and when I'm in those import settings, I have a wave encoder going, and that it is encoding them at 44.1 kilohertz and 16-bit. And then I'll go back to my library, highlight all the files that I want to convert that are going on the Roland, and what I'll do is I'll highlight them, and then I'll go up to File, go to Convert, and then I'll go to Create Wave Version. And you can even do this with multiple files. If you have 40 different samples you need to load on the Roland, you can highlight them all, go to File, Convert, Wave, and then what it'll do is it'll make duplicates in your library. Make sure that you highlight the ones that you have newly created, drag them to a new folder on your computer, and you're good to go. And that's really all you have to do to get them in the right format. I don't know why iTunes works. I'm assuming that Logic and Pro Tools and a lot of the DAWs encode whatever they export, they're encoding with some kind of thing that's a little more complex than the Roland can handle. So iTunes, goes through, and I found that converting all of that stuff through iTunes is like really simple. You can batch it, and you know, iTunes is free for PC or Mac, so it's a really quick way to just throw everything in there, convert it, drag it to a new file folder, and now you know, like, okay, great, these samples are exactly what I need. But that's it. Those are the 2 questions that I get most about problems people have with the Roland, and hopefully those help you. And if not, put in the comments if you're like, man, I still have questions. This is something I, you know, just throw in the comments whether this helped, or if you have other questions about, you know, problems you've encountered with the Roland, throw those in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and if you want, hit subscribe. I come out with new videos every week. So yeah, and that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. And make sure, there's a playlist probably around here. I have a ton of other videos on the Roland SPD-SX. So if you want to check those out, those are somewhere around here in a playlist, or just go to my channel and type in Tim Buell SPD-SX or something. And that'll get you there. But until the next one, see you around.